Hare Krishna, good morning. The pleasure of their lordships and His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, who taught us this beautiful bhajan. We always sing Jai Radha Madhava. You should try to follow the tune as the person who's singing it is singing, also the tune and then the beat. Like, I'm sorry, but Prabhupada would interrupt. He would say just what I'm saying. So, I'm not going particularly fast. Sorry about that. So you should also not go faster. And then follow the tune as the lead singer is. You might be used to singing it in a certain way, but there are other ways. So if somebody's singing it slightly different, you should also sing it that way instead of keeping up with something else. So we'll try again. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Shri Krishna Paramahansa Parvajapachaya Statara, Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This can be PDT founder, Acharya's Divine Grace, Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Gaur Nandi Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Well, thank you very much for accepting my, wasn't a chastisement, it was a correction, but it was a correction that I've personally experienced on at least 2 occasions with this divine grace. When, we noticed there was, what it means to be in sync? Like, so when we were out of sync, he's singing one thing and we were coming back with something else. Stop again, or if maybe the drummers or the cartel players would go faster or slower, stop it and put it back together. And then it would always, sound so much sweeter when we're all in sync. So continuing with this 4th chapter in the Bhagavatam, the creation, sorry, of the 4th order. So we'll, text 28, we'll do first the word by word and the translation. Tat, that. Pashyatam, of those who have seen. K, in the sky. Bhuvi, on the earth. Cha, and. Abhutam, wonderful. Mahat, great. Ha ha, oh. Iti, thus. Vada, roar. Sumahan, tumultuous. Ajayata, occurred. Hanta, alas. Priya, the beloved. Daiva Tamasya, of the most respectable demigod, Lord Shiva. Devi Sati, Daho, quit, Asun, her life. Kena, Badaksha, Sati, Kakopita, angered. Taprasyatam kebuvi chad uttam mahat. Taprasyatam kebuvi chad uttam mahat. Taprasyatam kebuvi chad uttam mahat. Haheti vadu samahannaya jata. Haheti vada samahannaya jata. Anta priya deva tamasya devi. Anta priya deva tamasya devi. Jahavasankena sati prakopita. Jahavasankena sati prakopita. Tat pasyatam kebuhi chadbhutanam mahat. Aheti vada samaham najayata. Anta priya deva masya devi. Jahavasankena sati prakopita. Tapasyatam he Ladies. Thank you very much. The translation. When Sati annihilated her body in anger, there was a tumultuous roar all over the universe. Why had Sati, the wife of the most respectable demigod, Lord Shiva, quit her body in such a manner? Purport. There was a tumultuous roaring all over the universe in the societies of the demigods of different planets, because Sati was the daughter of Daksha, the greatest of all kings, and the wife of Lord Shiva, the greatest of all demigods. Why did she become so angry that she gave up her body? Since she was the daughter of a great personality and wife of a great personality, she had nothing to desire, but still she gave up her body in dissatisfaction. Certainly, this was astonishing. One cannot attain complete satisfaction, even if one is situated in the greatest material opulence. There was nothing Sati could not achieve, either from her relationship with her father or from her relationship with the greatest of all demigods, but still, for some reason, she was dissatisfied. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam 126 explains that one has to achieve real satisfaction, Ayatma Suprasidati. But Atma, the body, mind, and soul, all become completely satisfied only if one develops devotional service to the absolute truth. Savai pumsam paro dharma yato bhaktiradhoksaje. Adhoksaja means the absolute truth. If one can develop his unflinching love for the transcendental Supreme Personality of Godhead, that can give complete satisfaction. Otherwise, there is no possibility of satisfaction in the material world or anywhere else. And repeat, when the Sati annihilated her body in anger, there was a tumultuous roar all over the universe. Why had Sati, the wife of the most respectable demigod, Lord Shiva, quit her body in such a manner? Om Gyanandamrandasya Janana Sakalaya Chakshunaditam Yena Tasmai Sri Dharane Namaha. Namo, so we all know this. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Satyada Satarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha, kripa sindhu vayevacha, patitanam pavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Now, after a long time, I'm very happy to be among friends and family. I was explaining last night that, sometimes, because my residence is in New Vrindavan, I'm not always there, but more so than I used to be. And so people are coming and going, massive amounts of people, actually. And sometimes some of you come there, and then I'm looking, because there's so many people, and I'm looking, this person looks familiar, and I'll go, Farmington, and I'm always so happy because I feel like, oh, I'm seeing a friend, because all these other people, I don't know where they came from, who they are, and why of course they're there for Krishna's mercy, but it's sometimes a little chaotic. Wonderfully chaotic, that so many people come that you can't even move, literally speaking, even in front of the temple. It's almost like we need traffic lights to just like walk, outside, inside. But when the devotees from Farmington Hills come, or even, Grand Rapids, Ypsilanti, Detroit, I feel like, here's my family. I just feel so happy to see you and to be here with you. So thank you very much. So this chapter, there's some amazing topics and amazing considerations that are being brought up. With the personality of Lord Shiva symbolizing the best of gentleness. So then you can why was Daksha? Here's another personality, powerful. Why was actually Daksha offered his beloved daughter to this gentlemanly personality, but now he's inimical towards that same personality, towards Shiva. Here is Shambhu, Lord Shiva. Shiva is Mangala, all auspicious, the greatest of all Vaishnavas. So on one hand, he's the worshipful object of the dull demons, On the other hand, he's the best of all Vaishnavas, or devotees. He even has his own sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya. So even if he may be an enemy sometimes or angry, such a personality cannot be the object of envy. So, how is that coming about? This word, this apati purusha, means the personality that has no rival. So what was going on here was, in this chapter, is that Lord Shiva cannot be persuaded to give his wife Sati permission to go to the big function at the family. And then, we start getting some interesting instructions. I don't know if you call it an instruction, but Sati was like so disturbed. So finally, she took shelter, it's described, of a woman's last weapon. So you all know what that is, right? The men, you know what the weapon of the women is? Huh? Yeah, this weeping, but more than that, lots of tears. The tears are there, And then Prabhupada said, by taking shelter of a woman's last weapon, this weeping, forces her husband to agree to the proposal of his wife. I always found that, every time I read that, this is really interesting. And I won't get in the commentary about it, but I just want to ask you, if you can be honest, have any of you married ladies, have you ever resorted to that last weapon? Somebody said yes? Hare Krishna. Did it work? Okay, we'll try again. So according to the Vedic conception of family life, husband gives half of his body to the wife, and then the wife gives half of her body to the husband. I mean, this is like figuratively speaking. It's not like, make a switch. But in other words, a husband without a wife or a wife without a husband is incomplete. And quite often we hear the expression, my better half. Husband will say, my better half. The wife will say, my better half. So that it's a common expression, but it's borne out by Bhagavatam. It's there. And then, so here was Sati. She resorted to the last weapon, and it also didn't really work. So what did she do? She just took off. And it's explaining how she took off with this gata vyataha, means without fear. She didn't care that she was going alone because she didn't have permission. She didn't care. She just took off. So she was therefore almost fearless. And then Lord Shiva, not wanting her to go alone, he sent his different personalities. I think even Nandi the bull was being ridden on. So these personalities, the Anuchara, those personalities who are serving Lord Shiva, it was explained that this word Anuchara, those who can immediately understand the purpose of their master. So likewise, say in a marriage, both should be like the master and the master. Both are masters in a marriage, not in competition, in service. So the lady, she's the mistress, the master of the household. That is her service. And the husband, he is taking care of everything in order that it may actually happen nicely. So each one, with subtle understanding, should understand what is the purpose of my master, and then serve nicely according to that. So she gets there. What's going on is all the learned sages and the Brahmanas assembled. They're chanting these Vedic mantras, so the entire atmosphere was surcharged with transcendental sound vibration. And another interesting thing, not only were they chanting these mantras, something else was going on simultaneously. Anybody remember what was going on? Among the brahmanas, all learned folk, there was some squabbling about the chanting of the mantras and the meaning of the mantras. So that was going on like at the same time as the chanting, and then this little, but it was considered like a transcendental argument, about the efficacy of the mantras. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that this transcendental sound vibration has been simplified in the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So in this age, no one is expected to be highly educated in the Vedic ways of understanding. I mean, I know quite a few people who think they are, but Prabhupada in the purport is saying in this day and age, um, it's not possible. No one is highly educated in the Vedic ways of understanding because women are, not women, people in general, men, women, everybody gets employed by the illusion of the time and place and being Kali Yuga. So people are slow, lazy, and unfortunate. Somehow or other, we got this amazing, in spite of being slow, lazy, and unfortunate, as a result of being members, like, if you join an organization or something, you get a card carrying members. So we're like we were card carrying members of Kali Yuga. And now we're carrying Lord Chaitanya's banner. So slow, lazy, unfortunate. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has recommended the sound vibration of Hare Krishna and the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the 11th canto, it's also recommended Yagya Sankirtan Trayarya Santahi Sameda Saha. So this is a bona fide process, what we're doing. And sometimes we may think, if it's bona fide and it's so effective, why are there only a few of us here? But that's already been explained in this age of Kali Yuga. People are slow, lazy, and unfortunate. And we've bucked the tide. We have become fortunate. And it's not enough that we have become fortunate. We have to now distribute that good fortune to others. So the material bodily conception is so polluted, and even upon the slightest provocation, so we're seeing here Sati situation, slightest provocation, all our relationships of love and affection are nullified. Bodily relationships are so transient, it's temporary, that even though one is affectionate towards someone in a bodily relationship, slightest provocation terminates the intimacy. We see that, especially in marriages nowadays. Nobody wants to be tolerant, finish divorce. Even in my young life, before meeting the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, but I was already had been out of the house and on my own, and I had done a couple things what some members of the family thought were like pretty like why like I got my ears pierced. Like for all of you, you would think, yeah, you're supposed to do that, but the middle class American mindset, what? And then somebody said, next thing you know, it's going to be your nose. And the fact was they were right. But it got to the point where you have to choose between your family or your friends. I just remember I was just going out the doorstep of my grandmother's house, and some aunts and uncles were there. You have to choose between your family or friends. My car was there. I just looked around and I thought, these people aren't my family and they're not even my friends, So I wasn't angry. I mean, they said make a choice, so I made that choice, and I got in my car and I left. You know, sometimes that happens. The Brahmanas didn't utter the mantras, so they're doing this whole thing, and they didn't utter the oblation to Lord Shiva. Namah Shivaya Swaha. They didn't say that. And Sati was really concerned that her husband was being insulted in the sacrifice. And she marked that insult. And she became really angry. And she looked at her father with such anger that appeared to burn him with her vision. Women actually have very powerful eyes. And sometimes it's said like that, oh, she could start a fire with her eyes, something like that. So one who's developed love for Vishnu must develop love and respect for Vishnu's devotees. And here's Lord Shiva. He's considered the foremost personality among Vaishnavas. We all know this. Vaishnavam yata sambhu. That's Shiva. Best of the Vaishnavas. So when Sati saw her father was performing this great sacrifice, but he had no respect for the greatest devotee, Lord Shiva, she was very angry. And Prabhupada comments in the purport, this is fitting. When Vishnu or a Vaishnava is insulted, one should be angry. Lord Chaitanya, who always preached non-violence, he preached meekness and humility. He also became angry when Nityananda was offended by Jagai and Madai, and he wanted to kill them. And Lord Nityananda said, hey, wait a minute, you've come to deliver these kind of people. If you kill them, who's going to be left to deliver? So he said, yes, if they come and beg forgiveness from their feet. So what to speak, anger, it's not a Vaishnava quality, but it's there. That means you can use it, not all the time. Like maybe you have a hammer in your kitchen, there's always a drawer in the kitchen where you don't know what to do with it. You throw in that drawer because sometimes I may use it. So like I have a hammer in my drawer. Sometimes I may have to use it, and I have sometimes, So anger is like that. It's in your spiritual drawer. And you may have to use it sometimes, and you should, according to the time, place, and circumstance. What to speak if somebody offends the spiritual master? Prabhupada was explaining, he said, if someone is offending the spiritual master, blaspheming, and you do nothing, he said, is that a very good thing? So we have anger, and that anger can be a great quality, one directed against a person who is envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotees. So we have to be very careful because we also have envy. It's part of the package of material life. But that thing is not like anger, where, yes, you can use it. Envy needs to be discarded. So anger can be a great quality, but you should not be tolerant when a person is offensive or envious toward Vishnu or a Vaishnava. Sati said, there's no one but you, to her father, no one but you could be envious of Lord Shiva or be his enemy. So highly qualified persons who are uncommon accept only the good qualities of others, and they don't consider their bad qualities. They're not making a checklist. They see, oh, this person has some good qualities. Whereas the common man can judge what are good qualities and what are bad qualities. So this is good, this is bad. So the uncommon personality only seeing what is good in others. And among the uncommon good souls, there are still gradations. Like the best soul is the one who accepts the insignificant asset of a person. This is almost like a little, maybe the person isn't so great. Maybe they're, we might even consider, oh my God, this person is like, what is it with them? And an uncommon person, a highly more elevated person, he'll see some little quality that is just like a shadow of goodness, and he'll fan that. He'll talk it up. And the rest of us are thinking, why is he saying all those nice things about this person? He's giving them mercy. He's helping that person become aware of what this little spark could be if it actually amplified. That is the magnanimity of the uncommonly good souls. Take an insignificant asset and magnify that good quality. So a great soul may forgive, forgive offenses, but Krishna doesn't excuse offenses to the dust of the great soul's feet. These offenses are generally committed by persons who falsely identify with the impermanent body. So if you're going to be thinking like, who would do that? Who would offend a Vaishnava? Offend another persons who are falsely identifying with the impermanent body. So Lord Shiva, he's worshipped because he's the greatest devotee of Lord Vishnu. So one shouldn't, make the mistake of considering Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu on the same level. We mentioned this in the 10 offenses, Prabhupada describes it, actually it's an atheistic idea. And it's enjoined in the Vaishnava Purana that Vishnu or Narayan is the exalted Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nobody should be compared to him. You can say they have similar qualities, but you can't say they are equal and one and the same. Not Shiva, not Brahma, the other demigods. So Sati was considering it was her duty to establish the elevated position of Lord Shiva, not just by sentiment, my husband, that's sentiment, but by facts. So she was giving hard facts. Shiva was not an ordinary living entity, and this is the conclusion of the Vedic scripture. He's the friend to everyone. He's a friend of the common men, the elevated men, and the devotees of the Lord. So no one should disrespect or create enmity towards Lord Shiva. So it appeared like she wanted to go to the function in her father's house. In fact, she said, pleading with her husband, I want to see my sisters and my mother. She was saying that. But the reality is, at heart, she maintained the idea that she would convince Daksha that it was useless to continue to be envious of Shiva. She wanted to convert her father's enmity. So that was her main purpose. And then on verse 17 in the same chapter, it's a very powerful verse. It's one we should actually be a little afraid of. It tells us what to do if you come across or hear such type of blasphemy towards a devotee or the Lord. The verse says, if one hears an irresponsible person blaspheme the master and controller of religion, one should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. And I think it's fair to say that most of us fit this category. Just block the ears, Vishnu, 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 and get away. But if one's able to kill them, then one should, by force, cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender. I mean, only a crazy person in Kali Yuga would go that far. And then after doing that, give up one's own life. Because, this is Bhagavatam, this is heavy. So the behavior of the most elevated transcendentalist and that of the most fallen conditioned soul appears to be the same. But the elevated transcendentalist can surpass all the regulations of the Vedas, just as the demigods are traveling in space. They're surpassing all the rough roads, the jungles of rocks, the oceans on the surface of the globe. But a common person, we don't have that ability to travel in space and avoid all these impediments. So Sati was looking at the situation. It's my father. I know what to do if a person blasphemes, but it's my father. So she didn't consider that would be appropriate to cut out his tongue and kill him. But she felt the right thing for her to do was give up her life. Now, that would be called, in our language, suicide. And it's not something that we should really be thinking about doing as a way out of an uncomfortable situation. Sometimes people, out of desperation, they have some incurable disease. Better to, they'll think like that. But who thinks about killing themselves because they hear some blasphemy? But that's what the Bhagavatam says. So what's the remedy? Don't listen to that blasphemy and go away. But Sati said, this is my father. He's speaking like that. How am I going to get away? And she considered that she'll. But even then, it wasn't just out of the offense of her father. Here is a personality who's greatly advanced. She, just like her husband, was not a common personality. To be his wife was just not a common personality either. So she's thinking, I gotta get out of the way. But in doing so, she would come back in such a way that she would be with Lord Shiva continuously, eternally, you could say. But we have to be careful what we do and how we do it. Because a common person who has not great understanding, realization, they see something and they want to imitate it. We hear this in the Bhagavad Gita that, 321, whatever action is performed by a great man, common men will follow in the footsteps. And whatever standards and he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So we have to be careful what we do and how we do it, especially as devotees, because we're trying to assist in removing the pernicious effects of Kali Yuga by being members of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. Bhagavatam also affirms that we should also follow in the great, footsteps of great devotees, because it's a natural way of progress and spiritual realization. So all leaders have a great responsibility to their dependents, and therefore it behooves us to be conversant with the standard books of moral and spiritual codes. So the spiritual codes, the Shastra, the Vedas. You have the books of moral like Manu Samhita and others, Chanaka Pandit. So the opulence that was possessed by Lord Shiva couldn't be understood by the materialistic persons like Daksha. So Daksha and his followers, who were just flatterers, and they were just engaged in fruitive activities, and when a person has an impurity and they consider that themselves are very great, powerful persons, which they may be. We have an example in America. We see his name on the signs, there's this name, this person. He's somewhat powerful, but he's a fool. He could never be a leader, because a leader is meant to redeem the dependence from their material life. And however rich or opulent such a person can be, they will always be overshadowed. Their opulence is just puny little, something that can be destroyed in an instant. Whereas the opulence possessed by Lord Shiva, renunciation, knowledge, spiritual knowledge, he didn't make a show of his opulences. He didn't like to, come around putting his chest out, just see me. He possessed all opulences, but he didn't like to exhibit them. So as such, these opulences are called avyakta. They're unmanifest, but they're there, and when required, just like anger, when required, simply by willing, Lord Shiva can show his wonderful opulences. And his opulences are renunciation, and more so love of God, great Vaishnava, love of God. And these opulences are possessed by personalities like the Kumaras, Narada, not by others, not by ordinary folks. And here is Daksha, the embodiment of envy, by unnecessarily blaspheming such a great personality like Lord Shiva. The real yogi process of yoga accepts the transmigration of a soul from one planet to another, from body to another. So Sati wanted to transfer her soul to another body or another sphere. And that's described, in the Keshava Shruti, how you can do that. But the Bhakti Yoga process directly elevates the soul to the spiritual planets where life is eternally blissful, full of knowledge. And therefore, Bhakti Yoga is considered to be the greatest of all yoga systems. So if we don't want to find ourselves in a predicament that is contrary to the process of bhakti, that is causing, bereavement to the heart because blasphemy like devotees, then we have to be really careful about who we associate with, how we associate with such persons, and try to associate with the devotees. Even a fallen devotee is better than a blasphemous non-devotee, because in one way or another, they'll remind you of Krishna. So she decided to quit that body obtained by Daksha and transfer herself to another body so she might have completely uncontaminated association with Lord Shiva. And in her next life, she would take her birth as a daughter of the Himalayas, Parvati, and she would again accept Lord Shiva as her husband. So therefore, Sati, Lord Shiva, eternally related. So even after she changes her body, the relationship is never broken. And it was mentioned like about 3 times in one purport that actually she didn't get a spiritual body. She got a material body, but even among material bodies, there are those bodies that are more highly elevated, more adapted to spiritual life than other bodies. So we come free from all bodily relationships in the material world. We place ourselves as the eternal servant at the feet of Lord Krishna. Then it's to be understood that the contamination of material attachment has been burned by the blazing fire of transcendental ecstasy. We sing from Saradava and Alalita, like, burn it up, burned up. And if one forgets this bodily relationship within the material world, and becomes situated in this spiritual identity, then one is freed from all material contamination by this blazing fire, this yogic samadhi, ecstasy. And that's the perfection, the topmost perfection of yoga. Hare Krishna. Is that a reminder that it should end? Did I end? I couldn't see the clock without like going like this. So it was, anyway, thank you for patiently listening. If you took a rest, I don't blame you. But is any comments or questions? So, no comments, no questions, no prasadam. Hare Krishna.
I have a question with Mr. Purport. So it says in the purport that regarding dissatisfaction, and if one is, it mentions about adopshaja,
Yeah.
food, and so the distinguish here with the pastime of study here, that was it was part of the pastimes and kind of the will of the Lord versus dissatisfaction or like many times we see this in the pastimes of the Lord or his associates. It's not like it's all part of the divine pastime. So like here, even though it mentions here about dissatisfaction, and so does it mean that Sati was dissatisfied, or she just being part in the
Both. She was dissatisfied. But because her husband was the greatest devotee, that means he was constantly connected with Krishna, which means anything surrounded his activities would also be connected to Krishna, which is because Sati, his wife. Yeah. So there's kind of like two things going on. But a devotee of Krishna is always under his control, even if it looks, like what's saying, why do bad things happen to good people? Usually in the divine leelas of Krishna and his devotees, it's an opportunity to get a deeper understanding about our role in this universe, in this world. But that doesn't mean if someone is being harmed, injured, or blasphemed, we say, oh, well, that's just a leela, and we just walk away. No, we have an obligation to stop it, or cover the ears and go away. And we should make an effort to stop, but if that's not possible, because especially if somebody is blaspheming a great personality, it means they don't have even common sense, but to speak of any other sense. So, you know what it's like talking to a wall. It's not going to get much of a response. And these kind of people are like that. They're not able to hear. They don't want to hear. So you make an effort, and then you just cover your ears and leave if there is no, not the proper response. Hare Krishna. Okay, so today's the wonderful Ekadashi. And I understand we're following a wonderful process of chanting extra rounds over this weekend. What was the number, 192? Yeah. So that's another wonderful thing here, that you get these type of pastimes and activities of extra chanting, it's hearing, hearing and chanting. Because actually, when all is said and done, that is the process. So it's good when we try to exhibit that, not only in our own hearts, but so others can see and become attracted also. Otherwise, it can very easily slide into a social, let's go to the temple, take a darshan, take a prasadam, and not get connected with the most valuable thing we have. You know that story with Sanatana Goswami and the touchstone, right? This person heard he had a touchstone, and he goes, and he said, I hear you have something very valuable. And he goes, yeah, you want it? Okay, it's over there. And it was in a pile of trash, and the person was so greedy, gets it out. Wow, touchstone would touch iron into gold, make iron into gold. So then the person wasn't a total fool, because then he thought, wait a minute, if this is the most valuable thing and it's in the trash, then there has to be something even better. So he went back and, sir, excuse me, but what is that thing that's better? And he goes, oh, you want that? Yes. He goes, throw this touchstone, throw it in the river. And because he was greedy for something better, he threw it in the river. And you know what he got? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Thank you very much.